Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I think you're in for an awesome treat today, and hopefully, after this webinar, you'll be ready to make some changes to the way that you're forecasting and ditch Excel once and for all. I'm your host, Alexis Luck, a former supplier myself. I spent some time working for Boston Beer and a few other suppliers, so I know the pains that you guys are going through with forecasting, and I think the SkuBrain and VicinityBrew applications make a fabulous team. Frankly, I wish I had both when I was in your shoes. Our special guest today is Matt McComish, Supply Chain Manager with Highland Brewing. Matt's going to walk us through a day in the life for him, showing how simply and effectively he's able to create forecasts, manage production, and save money for Highland using both SkuBrain and VicinityBrew. From the Vicinity team, Kaitlyn McKendry will be the star. So I'm going to kick off this webinar with a quick overview of SkuBrain. Kaitlyn is going to walk us through some basics on Vicinity and the integration, followed by a full demo including tips and tricks from Matt. All questions will be addressed at the end, so please feel free to post them in the Q&A section on your GoToMeeting dialog box. There's one last point to mention before we begin. We will be recording this session today, and you will receive an email with the recording tomorrow. So now that we've covered off on the admin stuff, let's get started. I'm going to kick it off to Kaitlyn.
Hey guys, this is Kaitlyn with VicinityBrew. I'm the marketing manager here. For anyone on the line who's not familiar with VicinityBrew, we provide a brewing management software solution aimed at centralizing data and really streamlining operations across departments, from finance, sales, production, distribution, etc. You can see some of the main kind of feature functionality that we bring to the table on the screen today, from recipe management, integrated production logs, lot traceability, automated TTB, direct integration with financials, whether that be QuickBooks Online or Microsoft Dynamics, sales order, purchase order processing, and then what we're going to really focus on today is kind of the scheduling and material requirements planning. One of the biggest struggles for our clients and what they face is the lead time between receiving an order and actual planning production, and plugging that into the VicinityBrew MRP engine. So VicinityBrew has a traditional MRP engine that can read overall sales demand, current production and inventory levels to drive out a proposed schedule and any necessary purchasing requirements. Like I said, with that problem, as far as the lead time, we'll focus today on our new integration with SkuBrain and how that software can help address the problem.
Thanks, Kaitlyn. So what exactly is SkuBrain? SkuBrain is a simple and intuitive way to do your forecasting. It's 100% hosted in the cloud. It's a powerful forecasting engine with an easy-to-use interface. What you're basically going to do is you're going to compile and consolidate all your depletions, upload them into SkuBrain, create a forecast, and then you can also create a replenishment plan with reorder stock points. We can cover that a little bit later. What SkuBrain also does is it does top-down forecasting, bottom-up promotional planning, barrel conversions, new SKU introductions, Excel forecast output, and distributor replenishment planning. How does it work? There's two ways that it really works. You've got the VicinityBrew integration, which makes your life a lot easier. So the Direct Connect API goes into the VicinityBrew software, pulls out your shipments, creates a forecast, and then pushes the forecast back into VicinityBrew for MRP. Or there's the CSV option, which is a lot more manual. With the CSV, you're going to have to consolidate all your depletions from different distributors or from VIP, then upload that into SkuBrain, create the forecast, and then export to Excel to either put back into your ERP or manually manipulate to come up with your production plan. For the forecast itself, SkuBrain applies 30 different industry standard algorithms in a tournament fashion to your depletions to create a forecast and choose which algorithm wins out in terms of accuracy. We've also got a new VIP integration that we're working on, so if you're interested in that, let us know. The API integration will be just as easy as it is with Vicinity and take out a lot of the manual work of the CSV. Here you can see an example of the CSV upload that you would want to do. This is just a sample, but it's got some of your required fields and some of your non-required fields. Order date, SKU, code, quantity, brand, package, type, size, category. When it gets to unit price, order reference, and line reference, that's kind of where it gets tricky. Because you're not really concerned about how much money you've got tied up in production, you don't really need to add in the unit price, but SkuBrain requires it. So you can put 1 as the unit price, and you just won't show any different financials than your actual eaches. The order reference and the line reference are actually going to be unique identifiers, and people tend to get tripped up here. If you take a look at the sparkling ale half barrels, this number for order reference 25550 is a unique identifier, and none of the other rows in this CSV example should have that same order reference. And the same goes for the line reference. It's kind of complicated, but if you need more clarification on it, you can definitely give us a call. But now I want to kick it over to Matt and have Matt show you how he deals with SkuBrain on a daily basis.
Hi guys, I'm the supply chain manager at Highland. We're a brewery in Asheville, North Carolina. There's a couple breweries here. We're brewing about 45,000 barrels of beer. We're in 9 states, 45 distributors. So my job is kind of unique. Pretty much like anyone on this call, you kind of do a lot of different things. So I'm doing the production scheduling, the purchasing, distribution, and logistics. So when I came onto this role, our forecasting was done by our sales manager and still is for the most part. His forecasts were done through VIP using depletions. So I'd get an Excel document that would say, Gaelic Ale, which is our flagship, we're going to deplete X amount in the month of May. So I'd kind of backtrack that and create a brew calendar around these depletions. So it got a little convoluted when that beer actually needs to be brewed and packaged. So I was looking for a solution. In talking with Vicinity, we were able to hook up with SkuBrain, which has been super helpful for me for planning for production, as well as purchasing and ordering materials for packaging and raw materials. So what was happening was our distributors were consolidating. The days on hand were shrinking, so the depletion numbers got a little confusing. And this has really helped me. So I'm going to go into some forecasting and show you. So this is kind of like the main forecasting screen. You can do different dates. You can pull from different dates, and I have got different people doing forecasting on here. So I've got our sales manager also pulling our sales invoices and also doing forecasts. The Vicinity API is as simple as just hitting this import to Vicinity. I'm not going to do it right now because it does take 2 or 3 minutes to do, but it is light years faster than doing the CSV. And we can talk more about the CSV. It's definitely, I was doing it before the API. It is just a little bit more time consuming. This is like super quick, super fast. So I'm going to go into our latest forecast and kind of just go over. I'm not sure if y'all have seen this before or this is your first time. So this is kind of what it looks like. This is all of our year-round beers kind of lumped together. So over here it's all sales, and then you can break it down into each item, and I forecast based on bright beer. And then you can go down to the SKU level. So these are kind of weird codes for most of you, but this is our 12-pack, 6-pack, half barrel, 6-barrel. Up here is how you can break out what you want this access to be. I don't use the financial that much because I'm not super concerned about that. So this is just units, and then this is barrels. So it looks like we're brewing a ton of barrels, but we actually, when we set up Vicinity, we set it up in gallons. It is kind of weird, but you just get good at dividing by 31. So for me, I'm able to look at our bright beer this is our Oatmeal Porter, and I can look at the amount of gallons and obviously turn it into barrels, but I can see what SkuBrain's kind of forecasting for Oatmeal Porter on the bright beer level. So I can compare that to what I have on the brew schedule. So I'm planning all of my brews about 12 months out. So things might happen in between that. Things do happen. So I can reforecast and kind of see where that is and make sure that that my brew schedule aligns with what it's forecasting. And it's been super helpful to kind of look at this and be like, okay, this one's doing good, I'm going to add another brew, or this one's doing a little less good, I'm going to drop a brew. So I've been able to manipulate our brew schedule instead of a last minute add or subtract. I can kind of plan a little further out. So this is our Oatmeal Porter 6-packs. So down here, these are the baseline, which is this shaded blue, and then the final, which is this dotted bit, this line right here. So what this has helped me do for 6-packs in cans has allowed me to order packaging material a lot easier because before I was getting these depletion numbers in barrels, and it was just that one item, so Oatmeal Porter, a couple hundred barrels in the month of May. And I didn't really have a great idea of what we were anticipating that split being. So whether it was in half barrels, 6 barrels, 6-packs, 12-packs. So this has given me the ability to look at these numbers down here and know that in April, we're going to be doing about 2,800 6-packs. And you can break that out into a high-low forecast, which has been very helpful because you don't want to under-order and you don't want to over-order. So kind of finding that sweet spot has been very helpful for me. So what I've been doing with that is kind of adding up those next 3 or 4 months and putting an order in with my suppliers. This has helped save us about $30,000 because we can have the runs be a little bit bigger. I'm more confident in my numbers for these months, and having them run more, you drop the price on your per unit carrier or can. So it's been very cool to see that work. So it's also just looking at what I have on the floor and just comparing what I'm expected to do that month and what I have on the floor, and kind of adjusting on that level too. So not just super future reaching, but also it is very helpful for near term. So one of my biggest things with this was trying to manipulate a brand new item. So this is a new IPA for us that just came out in the past 2 months, and we have no data on how well this is going to do. And we put out 13 new beers last year, not all of them core, but 3 core beers, and we kind of didn't know what to expect. So this is kind of cool. You can go to the adjust department on the bottom, and you can take another beer's data and kind of backfill it. So this is another IPA we released last year, so we've got some sales behind it. They're both low gravity IPAs. So this one, this Bright MA, is our orange IPA. So I can go in and say that Vacation, this new IPA, will be about 75% of Mandarina, and run that and kind of see where those numbers go, and can have forward forecasting for a brand new item. You can also go into the adjustments. So I know in May we're going to release these as cans, so I could bump those numbers up manually and kind of use that as a guide too. So I know that May we're going to have a pretty big spike. So this is just helpful for me for new beers and kind of gauging a percentage of what it would be like compared to our other core beers. So I'm going to go into an older forecast. So this is my first forecast. And then, so with the Vicinity, it's pulling those invoices and shipments and putting it back in. So previous months, so this was done in November. So you can see how well the forecast did compared to what we actually shipped. So the variances of these are less than 5% for the overall sales. This is 0.28%, so pretty spot on. Obviously, there's some differences, but the more data you put behind it, the better I think you'll get information from it. So I'm going to go into Mocha Stout and kind of show you. So we obviously did pretty well with Mocha Stout compared to the forecast in here, so a little bit higher variance. So that's why this tool for me is helpful. Using this high 80, I was able to keep what we had on the floor correct. So the other thing you can do with the forecast, you can go by weekly or you can go by quarterly. I've always done monthly because that's how I'm planning my bright beer. But I've got this through quarters, so you can kind of have a bigger picture view of what something will look like over the course of a quarter. So this is our Gaelic six barrel, and this might be a little easier for some people to order packaging material or plan that way to look at it instead of month by month. So for me, there's a ton of benefit for this. This is kind of like the first thing I look at in the morning. It's kind of like my dashboard, so I'll upload sales and kind of see where everything is and adjust as needed, put my orders in. It's definitely helped on the production side, dialing in when we actually need the bright beer instead of working backwards from depletions. And really, it's just helps with the purchasing of packaging material from cans, cardboards, and labels, and keeping our days on hand small, but also having our runs a little bigger to save money. Yeah, so you might notice that the last thing, it's only 2 years of data, and I know there's a lot of breweries that probably have a lot more data. Before 2014, we were kind of brewing to capacity, so I haven't pulled any of that data because it would kind of just skew things. But the further you go, the better information you're going to pull from this program. And the Vicinity aspect has really made it super easy. Instead of doing the CSV updates manually, it really just takes a couple minutes. But happy to answer anyone's questions, whether on today or off camera. You can email me at mattm@highlandbrewing.com. Now back to Alexis.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, as he had mentioned, there is the ability within SkuBrain to do quarterly forecasting as well as weekly forecasting. We do have some clients out there that are using SkuBrain that are interested in weekly forecasting. So if you have any questions on that, please give us a call. The last thing I wanted to cover off in today's webinar is the replenishment planning that I mentioned earlier in our session. Replenishment planning isn't really necessary or relevant when it comes to forecasting for production, but if you have people out on the streets managing wholesalers, you can use this replenishment plan to manage your brand in their book. So basically what you're going to do is once you've got the forecast, you're going to upload their inventory into SkuBrain, and as well as identify the lead time From there, SkuBrain is going to create a replenishment plan based on those three factors. How long does it take to get from the brewery? What's my inventory on hand? And what's my forecast? So what SkuBrain is going to do is going to give you three different tabs. One is replenish, one is overstock, and one is hold. For the items and SKUs that show up under replenishment, SkuBrain is telling you that in the amount of time it's going to take you to get more product from the brewery to that wholesaler, you will not have enough inventory to keep yourself in stock. So you need to order more. On the overstock tab, it's kind of the opposite. The SKUs listed, you've got too much in inventory and won't sell enough to have any more orders coming in. So you're going to need to cut those orders or transfer them out to another market. And under the hold tab, these SKUs are going to be just fine. Just leave them as they are. So that's replenishment. Not a lot of breweries are using it, but if you want to learn a little bit more about that, give us a call as well. So that's about it for our session today. Wanted to let you guys know that SkuBrain is available for a free trial. If you guys want to check that out and get started, you can go to www.skubrain.com/trial. Also, I know the three of us will be attending CVC. In particular, us, SkuBrain, and Halo are putting on a happy hour. That's going to be Monday, April 10th before the welcome reception from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Marquee Marriott. We're going to go over sales forecasting as well as sales visibility and business intelligence. We will be at booth 1660 during the show. I know Kaitlyn and VicinityBrew will be at booth 1250 as well. So if you guys want to come by, we'd love to see you and have a beer. Now I think it's a good time to jump into some questions. All right, Matt, you're up. First one's for you. How would you compare the way Highland forecasted before and after SkuBrain?
So before it was just coming from sales and it was just in those in depletions. So now it's more of a collaborative thing where we're looking at depletions and we're looking at SkuBrain and kind of coming up with our best forecast together and looking at the whole year from a shipments, production, and depletion level. So it kind of makes it a more well-rounded forecast instead of just coming from depletions or VIP.
All right, cool. Thanks. I guess another one for you. When you're manipulating the data, what are the most important things to do before connecting it to SkuBrain?
So when I was doing the CSV connection, just making sure that your dates and your numbers are lined up. There's a couple little quirky things with the CSV. Just having too many decimal points can throw things off. With Vicinity, you can use their Vicinity view, which is kind of like a smart list. And you can look through that data and make sure that you're pulling the correct data and not inflated numbers or deflated numbers. So it takes a little bit, but once you know you've got great information going in, you can trust it a lot more.
And so with Vicinity, though, you can also exclude certain SKUs, right? So if you didn't want to forecast certain beers, you didn't have to.
Yep. So we're not forecasting seasonal beers. We basically brew those in a certain quantity. So in Vicinity, it's just having it checked off in a box for your item to have it forecasted through SkuBrain or not. So you can kind of toggle that between forecasting it and not.
Okay, right. Thanks, Matt. Kaitlyn, here's one for you. How easy is it to automate the process within Vicinity?
Yeah, so as far as automating the process with Vicinity, I had mentioned how Vicinity kind of has a traditional MRP engine. Nothing is really changing on that front for Vicinity, but really what the integration offers is the ease to transfer data. You have structure to dump those historical sales numbers into, that being SkuBrain, and then to kind of automate your forecast, as well as just the structure to just plug that forecast back into Vicinity MRP engine in place of actual actual sales orders, because as you guys all know, and as I mentioned earlier, kind of you have a lot of disconnect between the time of when an actual sales order comes in and when you need to fill it. So having the lead time that this forecasting tool or forecasting in general gives you is really necessary, especially as Matt mentioned, when you kind of transition from brewing from capacity to brewing to fill orders.
Great. Thanks, Kaitlyn. Appreciate the detailed response. This next question's for me, I guess. Are there any other SkuBrain integrations besides VicinityBrew? There are other SkuBrain integrations beside VicinityBrew. I'd say VicinityBrew is the easiest, with that automated API that's going to actually get all of your data in the correct format. With the CSV, it's a little bit more manual. But we are currently working on a VIP integration, which will be equally as automated as the VicinityBrew API integration. That should be done within the week. And then there are a couple that aren't probably relevant to beer or beverage for that matter. But Bright Pearl is another partner of ours that we have an API integration with, Vend, and Shopify. But for the beverage industry, I'd mostly say the VicinityBrew, VIP, and then CSV. And then lastly, Matt, this one I think is for you. I know you talked a little bit earlier about you were able to save a bit by automating your forecast through SkuBrain, and when it came to packaging or cans, your materials. What could you quantify the actual cost savings so far?
No, we saved about $30,000 over a year just by being able to have the runs a little bit longer and being more confident in the numbers that we're purchasing.
Wow, that's a lot of money, Matt. That could definitely pay for your SkuBrain and probably your VicinityBrew subscription for an entire year. Well, looks like there's no more questions, guys, so I think we're going to wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and Matt and Kaitlyn, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
If you have any questions, you definitely feel free to reach out to me. My email address is alexis.luck@halobi.com. Matt and Kaitlyn's email addresses are on the screen as well. You can always visit our website as well, SkuBrain.com. And definitely feel free to stop by and say hi at CBC. Would love to grab a beer with you guys and chat about any questions you might have. So thanks a lot. Have a great day.